What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the very festive edition of the Blitz as we are talking the bowls this week. A lot of them. If you have questions on how to bet all these bowl games this week, well, you've come to the right place. If you're watching us live, drop those comments down below. We'll get to them. We've got 4 of the bigger bowl games for this Saturday that we'll be opening up by breaking down best bets on their way as well. We'll try to cover as much of these games as we can. Here to help me do so, of course, 2 of the finest at WagerTalk.com, Steve Merril, and as always, Ross the Boss Benjamin. Steve subbing in for Ralph Michaels this week. Glad to have you again, Steve. And guys, what do you say we start with 2 teams that, needless to say, did not anticipate playing in the Pinstripe Bowl back in August. I think these teams had national title aspirations, let alone college football aspirations, national title aspirations, Penn State and Clemson. They are playing at Yankee Stadium, 12 p.m. Eastern on Saturday, ABC. As you would expect, after the disappointing regular seasons for these 2 teams, there are going to be plenty of opt-outs and a general lack of motivation as well. Of course, you got the interim head coach for Penn State, Terry Smith, in addition to the players opting out from the Nittany Lions, most notable of which is running back Nicholas Singleton. Smith indicated several starters may not play deep into this game. As for Clemson, 7 of the top 12 defenders on defense, 5 of the top 12 players on offense in terms of snap count will not play. Quarterback Cade Klubnik, he will, though. And Ross, that is, I guess, why Clemson is out to a 3-point favorite here. Cade Klubnik going to be on the field. What do you make of this game, however?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of who's more motivated, right? Because I think both schools will travel well to this game. You get an opportunity from Clemson and Penn State to make a trip to Yankee Stadium, iconic stadium in downtown Brooklyn. And I think that edge will be pretty even. However, I think when you look at the players that have opted out, whether it be for the NFL draft or the transfer portal, when you look at both the players on both sides, I think the productivity loss clearly lies with Penn State. They lost a lot of productivity to the players that have either opted out or the transfer portal. Also, you can't make light of at this time of year the continuity in coaching staff. Dabo Swinney's still there, even though he came under a lot of heat this year. And I think Clemson will be the more motivated team. Penn State finished strong, winning 3 in a row, but look who they beat. I mean, Nebraska, who fell off a cliff at the end of the year, Michigan State, who's absolutely brutal, and Rutgers, they only beat them 40-36 and gave up over 500 yards in that contest. Well, Clemson finished 4-0 straight up and 3-1 against the spread, so it sort of salvaged their season, considering they were 3-5 after 8 games. I like Clemson the way they finished the season against who they finished against a lot better than Penn State's 3-0, which is less impressive when considering the level of competition. Small lean here, again, very small lean. Clemson -3 over Penn State.
Steve, I guess this is the new normal. 2 teams that, honestly, I probably would have preferred to fade. So it kind of sucks they're matched up against each other due to the lack of motivation. So what do you think here? I mean, this isn't going to be the first time we talk about a potentially unmotivated bowl team, but we do have 2 of them here in the Pinstripe Bowl, noon Eastern on Saturday. What are you thinking for this game?
Yeah, when you have 2 unmotivated sides, let's just look at the total. By the way, the total's really moved nothing. 48.5. It's still 48.5 in most spots, and 47 and 48 are both key numbers. 49 and 50 are what we call dead numbers. So at 48.5, all the way up to 50.5, 51 is really the next key number. So we'll see if this settles a little bit. I do see a few 48s out there. So if you're going to play the over, maybe wait a little bit and try to get a 48. But I think this could be a higher scoring game than expected. And the reason I say that is because when you have 2 teams with uncertainty, lack of motivation, opt-outs and what stuff, it, like we talk about in basketball, becomes a street ball game, right? And when it's like that in basketball, everyone's trying to pad their stats. It's a lot of offense, no defense. I think we get the same thing in these bowl games in which teams don't really necessarily care. I think the intensity lacks on the defensive side, and we often get more points than you would expect. And, with the long layoff here in recent years, we've seen that sometimes work good and bad. If teams can't run the ball, they struggle. But you look at these two attacks, especially Penn State, and when they lose their quarterback, halfway through the season, they have to run more. They're averaging almost 180 rushing yards, 5 yards a carry this season. And they're taking on a Clemson run D that's been good. But once again, if the intensity isn't there, if the focus isn't there on defense, these two teams that have been good statistically defensively, I don't think will be as strong. And they both give up about 21 points a game. Both offenses average 29, 31 on the season. This is a fairly low total, in my opinion, at 48.5, especially if it drops down to 48 or less for two teams that really, as we've stated, do not have much to play for.
Yeah, there you go. And guys, something else to keep in mind here as I look at this outstanding panel we've got here on the Blitz is as these games get near, Steve, Ross, and I combined are going to sleep about 6 hours in the month of December because the three of us are going to basically we're not only doing this show, and we're giving out plays, but we're going to be doing other standalone videos here on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. Steve, I believe, is going for the gold medal by previewing every bowl game. I mean, I don't know what bet you lost, Steve, but thank you to Steve for that. I've got one going up on the Go Above Sports Bowl, I know, which will be coming up later this week. And I know Ross is in there. He's previewing games as well. I mentioned the comments. If you're watching live, guys, all you in the chat, I'm going to take this one right here. I see a lot of people are talking about the Toledo-Louisville game, which starts here in just a little bit. Tucker Gleason is out for Toledo. I assume that was announced within the hour. I assume that's why we're seeing the line move towards Louisville. Toledo, by the way, their secondary is absolutely decimated. That's the strength of the defense, and I think 3 of the starters aren't playing in the secondary. But Louisville's got some key opt-outs too. I see a lot of people saying, I don't know about laying this number with Louisville. I would agree that they're missing a lot of key players on offense. Toledo also dealing with an interim coaching staff. And yes, thank you, Jay. Oh, Jay Buff in the house. Thank you for the jacket. I liked how it looked on my complexion when I did WagerTalk today, so I kept it for the show. All right. That is the early game for today. We talked about the Pinstripe Bowl, Penn State and Clemson. Again, guys, check back later in the week on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. Ton of free content. So why don't you
Brian,
and subscribe? Yes, Ross.
Yes, I have a deep dive solo video on this game, that game that you just mentioned, on WagerTalk TV as we speak. So for those of you who want a detailed analysis and free pick in that game, I have it for you.
Okay.
Yeah, Brian, I'll say real quick on that game. That line has gotten pricey. My projection, all things equal, this year would have been Louisville like 5. But as you said, Toledo's really beat up defensively, missing guys. But what jumped out to me, when I was doing a video on that as well, Ross, is the head-to-head between the two common opponents. Toledo gave up 12 points per game this season, but they gave up a lot more than that against Kentucky and Bowling Green, lost both games outright, gave up like 70-some points combined. And Louisville beat both of those teams, including 41-0 in their last game. So you don't want to overreact to common opponents too much, but that was pretty enlightening and tells you that Louisville is a better team. The question is, though, is there value now that it's crossed over that key number of 10, 11? The floodgates have opened.
Yeah, additionally, Toledo's defensive coordinator, who's done such a terrific job since he's been there, he jumped ship to go to Syracuse well before Jason Candle decided to move on. So, I don't think it's as heavy a number as people think with Louisville when you consider the level of competition as some of the things that Steve just brought up.
Brian, I got to ask you real quick. You're a MAC guy.
Yes.
Leaving Toledo to go to UConn, correct?
Yeah.
I thought that seemed a little strange when I first saw it.
I mean, the MAC is I mean, the MAC, look, it's on its way right now to being the weakest of the group of 5 conferences. So I don't know, maybe I actually just think Candle kind of needed a refresh, to be honest with you. I thought he'd taken the Toledo program as far as he could have. Yeah. I mean, the narrative was out there on Toledo with Candle. This is a team, obviously. I have Toledo as the best team in the MAC this year, even though they didn't make the conference championship game. But they always drop a game or two as a double-digit favorite. So we shall see. To be honest, UConn's a step up from Toledo. So there you have it. All right. Let's go to the next game on Saturday. Let's go back to our rundown here, guys. Keep those questions coming in the chat. I know there's some games here. Those of you watching the show live, there are some games here on Tuesday. We are recording earlier this week so we can get cover as many of these games as possible. But 3:30 Eastern on ABC. Next in our rundown, guys, the Pop-Tarts Bowl. Georgia Tech versus BYU. In addition to giving America what it really wants to see, that being a Pop-Tart mascot coming out of a fake toaster, this should be one of the better bowl games in all seriousness, guys. Not a ton of opt-outs. These are two teams I think both want to be there. It's going to be a high profile game. People were into the Pop-Tart Bowl last year. Again, people love seeing a Pop-Tart mascot come out of a toaster. My big take on this, I think there's going to be plenty of points in this game. I think the defenses are going to have trouble slowing the respective offenses down. Big picture, something that I just want to throw out there. Georgia Tech OC Buster Faulkner, he's left for Florida. Big picture for this program, that is a significant loss for this Georgia Tech. They are going to miss Buster Faulkner in the years to come. But as for the Pop-Tarts Bowl, Ross, what is your take on this one?
Yeah, I just think BYU is the more physical team in this matchup. I mean, that's hard to say when you have a head coach at Georgia Tech like Brent Key, former offensive lineman. But if you look at their whole body of work this year, and especially down the final stretch of the season, look, BYU's 11-2. Their only 2 losses came against Texas Tech, 11-0 against everybody else. And in those 2 losses against Texas Tech, they were a -7 turnover margin. In the rest of their games, they were +13. So Georgia Tech, I was really high on them before the season started. As a matter of fact, in my preseason preview I did with Teddy, I picked them to win the ACC, and it was looking pretty good at one point, guys. Mm-hmm. They were 8-0, and then the wheels fell off. They lost 3 of their last 4. Their defense wasn't very good. I mean, the only win in that 4-game sequence to end the year was against Boston College, 36-34. And they allowed over 500 yards of offense to a 2-10 Boston College team. So I'm not crazy about the way Texas Tech finished. I think BYU is far and away the better team in this matchup. And with all things being equal, because both, like you said, Brian, both rosters seem like they're virtually intact in terms of the transfer portal and opt-outs. There doesn't seem to be any, so I'm going to take BYU here. I like BYU with a 4.5.
Well, that's a vote for Brigham Young. Steve, would you concur with that? Georgia Tech's defense was something that is generally not very good. I don't know how they turned in that performance they did against Georgia in the regular season finale. That was one of the big head scratchers for me down the stretch, at least. What is your take here on the Pop-Tarts Bowl?
Yeah, Brian, you mentioned the over. Ross mentioned BYU. I would concur with both of you. The great state senators from Ohio and New York in this one. And I will say it's a little bit of a hedge, by the way, if you play BYU in the over. I think at worst, and I mean, there's no guarantees. At worst, you probably go 1-1, maybe 2-0. And the reason I say that is because we talk about not a lot of opt-outs for either team. I think the one uncertainty in this bowl game is Georgia Tech's offensive staff. As you said, they lost the OC. Chris Winkie, I believe, might be calling the plays, the Florida State quarterback. Georgia Tech does run the ball well, powerful rush attack, which when you have a long layoff like this, I think it's nice to see teams be able to run because the precision passing, as I said earlier, is sometimes affected. But BYU has the much better run defense. They still run for almost 5 yards a carry. And the reason I say it's a little bit of a hedge with BYU in the over, I do like the over in this game. But if we don't get there, if it's a low-scoring game, then you really got to like BYU. They have a substantial defensive edge in this game. These are both 2 top 30 offenses in my ratings, but I've got BYU substantially better defensively, and the stats bear that out as well. Georgia Tech gave up almost 6 yards per play this year. BYU on the season barely gave up 5 yards per play. So BYU in the over, and I think at worst you probably split and go 1-1, maybe a 2-0, which would be nice on Saturday. Pop-Tarts Bowl. By the way, Brian, we talked last week about Missouri State and Delaware getting the exemptions to get in. And my first thought was, I wonder which one got in because Notre Dame opted out. Turns out neither one of them. It's Georgia Tech got into the Pop-Tarts Bowl.
That's right,
because Notre Dame opted out. Although they would have been bowling anyway, I guess. And Kansas State and Iowa State not going to the bowls is actually why Missouri State and Delaware got in. And I guess Notre Dame probably opened a spot for one of them. But, yeah, Georgia Tech would not have been in this bowl. It very well could have been I guess, Notre Dame-BYU matchup, which would have been very enticing coming out of the toaster.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, those teams just signed an agreement to play, I believe. Did I see that correctly? Notre Dame and USC no longer playing. We see some comments in the chat coming in. BYU and Armed Forces, that was in response to no one takes bowls as serious as BYU does. You guys hit on that a little bit ago, Ross, in his breakdown. As far as the Armed Forces angle goes, and the military academies treating bowls seriously, stay tuned, guys. I know I'm going to have a best bet on the UConn Army matchup later in the show. I think you probably know where I'm going there. But before we get to that, let's talk more Power 4 schools in bowl games on Saturday. Virginia and Missouri in the Gator Bowl. The Gator Bowl seems to have fallen down the pecking order, guys. Correct me if I'm wrong. This used to be like a New Year's Day bowl game, and now it's being played on the Saturday after Christmas. Virginia has taken money here against Missouri. It's based on the news. Missouri quarterback Bo Perbula is not playing. Backup Matt Zollers, who did start 3 games during the regular season, will be getting the starting nod instead. You look at the WagerTalk odds screen, guys. Virginia's down to +4 after opening +7. Part of me thought, and Steve, I'll go to you first, being the senator from Virginia, but my concern originally was taking the points with Virginia. They're kind of in a letdown. So like they were that close to the college football playoff. They were 1 win away. They lose in heartbreaking fashion the conference championship to Duke. But as I did more of a deep dive into Virginia in bowls, this is a program that has just 1 bowl win in the last 15 years. So they might be pretty, Missouri's been in some big bowl games the last couple of years. I remember they beat Ohio State in a bowl game. I was on Missouri. Actually, wound up with a terrible closing line value in that game, but it didn't matter. Nevertheless, Virginia, they the more motivated side here, Steve? You think?
Well, I don't know. I haven't dug into it too deep. I'm going to be doing a video for every Saturday game in a couple days, and I'll kind of try to get a feel locally here if they want to be there or not. My gut instinct, though, is what you said initially, Brian, is that this is a pretty big blow. This is a team that was favored against Duke down in Charlotte a few weeks ago, and all they had to do was beat a Duke team who they had routed a few weeks earlier on the road, and they're in the playoffs. So I can't imagine this isn't a little bit of a letdown spot just on paper for them. Whether they rally or not, we'll see. And it is a concern because defensively they are pretty good this year. And as I said earlier at the beginning of the show, when teams aren't focused, I fear that shows on the defensive side of the ball. We have seen some sharp money. I don't know if it's sharp. It's a little bit of everything on the under. You mentioned the quarterback out from Missouri. That's obviously a big reason why this line's gone from 7 down to 4 and why the total has dropped from 50.5 down to 45. Not a lot of value left now at 45, but the under does make sense. I rate both defenses as the stronger units on the field. And the other thing I'll point out is that Missouri does run the ball well. They had over 200 rushing yards in 3 of their final 4 games. Oklahoma was the only team they couldn't run against. Oklahoma had the second best yards per rush defense in the country this year. So if you take that game out, they ran for over 800 yards in their other 3 games against decent opponents, Texas A&M, Mississippi State, Arkansas. So it'll be a test for the Virginia run D that's been fantastic this season. And overall this year, Virginia giving up just, I think about 3.4 yards per carry. Missouri's allowing just 3.2. So I don't really see either team dominating the line of scrimmage in this game, running the ball, and neither team throws the ball well. Missouri's starting quarterbacks out. They still were a below-average passing team this year, and so was UVA. So 2 teams that were below-average passing, 2 good pass defenses, 2 good run defenses. I can understand why this total has dropped to 45. My concern would be if Virginia doesn't come focused. If you think they might, then that probably helps the under.
All right, there we go. Ross, we had a question in the chat. Do you expect the line to swing back? This is from AWB4. And if so, is this a good time to snag Missouri if we like them? That is what he asked.
I think the line move is basically because of the players that opted out of this game. I mean, Steve mentioned the starting quarterback opted out, 2 receivers, and the starting tight end is not going to play either. I mean, you're taking away 88 receptions and over 900 yards in offense right there on top of missing your starting quarterback. So I think that line move is more predicated on that than it is on money that moved the line. So I don't, if it does go up and it swings back toward the opening number, I don't think we're going to see a drastic change. So I hopefully that answers that question the best I can. Anyway, I would say brilliant minds think alike when it comes to the under, but I didn't want to insult Steve. So I do think this is going to be a lower scoring game. I do think this is, in terms of power conference teams facing each other, might be one of the more boring games, boring matchups in the bowl season. And you look at both defenses, like Steve said. I mean, Virginia averaging, allowing less than 19 points per game. Missouri less than 19 points per game, or a little over 19 points per game. Missouri's allowed 20 points or fewer in 8 of 12 games this year. A lot of those were against SEC competition, so they're definitely a stout defense. And Virginia, to me, they lack the explosiveness on offense, especially against a defense the caliber of Missouri. So I like this game to go under. I agree with Steve wholeheartedly on his opinion.
All right, that's 2 votes for a low-scoring Gator Bowl right there. Guys, I see we've got some questions coming in for one of tonight's games. I'll touch on that in just a little bit. No, Jay Buff, you did not miss any Hawaii Bowl discussion either. So we'll maybe touch on that either. We have one more game in our rundown. We're going to also, all 3 of us, tell you what we've got going on this week at WagerTalk.com. Obviously, one of the busiest weeks of the year and a very challenging week to handicap, guys, not just with these bowls, but I was doing my NFL initial work yesterday. My God, it feels like half the league is down to its backup quarterback there. I just basically ripped up my power ratings that I usually lean heavily on this week for pro and college football. I don't think they matter, quite frankly. But that's a different story for a different day. Ross, your favorite, LSU. We know who their next head coach is. I know if you've been watching this program the last couple of weeks, Ross has made his opinions clear on Lane Kiffin and how he feels. Maybe there's a chance to impress the old Lane train here, Ross, although looking like a lot of opt-outs on the LSU side. They take on Houston in the Texas Bowl, 9:15 Eastern on ESPN. I think all the opt-outs are why the Tigers opened as the underdogs here.
Yeah, and having said that, you're looking at an LSU team that defensively is deep and played very well this year. It's their offense that was their enigma this year. I mean, you're looking at, they played under the total in their last 4. They played under the total in 9 of 12 games this year. So that speaks volumes to me. In Houston, they look good at times this year, but one thing, they're not bad defensively. You look at their defensive numbers, especially down the stretch, they were pretty good. The one exception being the game against West Virginia. I just think this one we played close to the vest, and I think we're going to see a lower scoring affair. And the total in this game certainly indicates that, and you're looking at the total opened at 43.5 down to 41.5. Some of that might be for the reasons you said, Brian, in terms of opt-outs and in transfer portals, but I think that this game, you're looking at like a 17-10 type of game, 17-13, somewhere in that area. So I'm going to have a small lean toward the under here. I just don't like, this won't be on my card, only because 41.5, is a relatively low number in terms of college football totals. And with both of these defenses and their ability to turn the other people over. And then you're looking at the fact Houston, I mean, they turned the ball over themselves 10 times in the last 4 games, and they created 8 turnovers during that time. So, it's too many short fields to worry about, but put the proverbial gun to my head, like Steve likes to do all year long. And I'm going to go under the total.
Didn't know Steve Merril would be a violent man. I will say no Nussmeier for LSU. And, other than you bring up a great point, and I'll kick it over to you, Steve. Head. Yes. Other than an inexplicable first half against West Virginia, and if memory serves me correct, I'm doing this off the top of my head, I think that was turnover fueled. Houston's defense was outstanding this year. So, Steve, it seems like the consent and certainly these early bowl matchups back it up. These sort of opinions we're given here on the under. The offensive execution, particularly with these interim stabs and whatnot, has not been crisp in a lot of these bowl games. So do you think this is another low-scoring one as well between LSU and Houston?
Yeah, once again, I go back to motivation. I mean, the thing that concerns you here with this low of a total is if the LSU is all over the place like they might be, does that show on the defensive side? But I think you're right. Defense is more about motivation. It's just athleticism, strength, desire, get out there, hit somebody. You need more precision on the offensive side. And now that we're getting into these late December games this Saturday, December 27th, You do start talking about teams being off for more than a month almost in some cases. In fact, Houston and LSU both played on November 29th. That's a full 4 weeks off for these squads. And let's not forget, LSU was not a good offensive team this year. Really bad rushing attack, one of the worst in the SEC for sure. And they barely averaged 100 rushing yards a game. And I bring that up because when you're off for a month, I think it's easier to get back in there, play smash mouth football. You're going to talk about how service academies do during the bowls. And, hey, how do they play, right? Smash mouth football. And if you look at the two teams here, Houston runs for almost 175 yards a game. Huge rushing edge here for the Cougars. And you got to always respect Cougars after a long layoff. They come out and fight. You know that, Bryan Power.
Yes.
And both defenses are solid. LSU, both of these teams, good defenses, questionable offenses. There's a reason why it's the lowest total at 41, but don't underestimate Cougars when they've been cornered.
Well, on that note, perhaps we should talk about the Frisco Bowl tonight, because I think there are some questions rolling in about my alma mater, head coach Brian Smith. If you caught the end of last week's program here on the Blitz, I said, as a proud Ohio University graduate, there was zero chance that man was fired for alcohol-related reasons. If they got rid of everyone in Athens for alcohol-related reasons.
There was alcohol involved, probably. By the way, Brian, I got to do a disclaimer here, the Steve Merril correction. This doesn't happen often, but I did the video yesterday, and I think I had a slip of the tongue, said underage affair. I meant
undergraduate.
Yeah, undergraduate.
As I said in the comments today, because I reply to the comments, I read them all, that she was probably a little underage for him still.
She wasn't a cougar, Steve.
No, I don't know that, Ross. And you don't know that either, damn it.
and that's where we're going here. Yeah, so if you watch, I said there was no way somebody would lose their job in Athens, Ohio, of all places. If they got rid of people for alcohol in Athens, there would be no student body. There'd be no teachers. There would be no one. Okay, there's a bottle. There would be no Bryan Power. There's a bottle of booze in every drawer in that town, Steve. So I was not surprised to learn there was smoke or a fire behind that smoke, so to speak. So yeah, for those of you who are asking, Ohio he was on administrative leave early. UNLV took money for this game. This is Tuesday night, UNLV and Ohio in the Frisco Bowl. I'll just touch on this. I actually did a complete breakdown of this game on WagerTalk today, this morning. I'm sure they'll make that a standalone video as well. Look, everyone's going to say I'm being a homer. I want to punch back at the market a little bit. I don't like this. Ross can tell you, I've been poo-pooing this UNLV team all season on this show. I think they're one of the luckiest teams in the country. Tip of the cap to Dan Mullen. He outperformed my expectations, but they were 5-1 in one-score games. Despite the coaching situation, no one's opting out for Ohio. And did you know, Steve Merril, the Ohio University Bobcats have the nation's second longest bowl win streak at 6 straight. I think they may be motivated to continue that. I would take the points with the alma mater.
Yeah, I mean,
Ross, go ahead. I'm sorry.
You're looking at a coach. Correct me if I'm wrong. At Ohio, he's a first-year head coach, right? At Miami,
one and done.
Yeah, so there's not like there's been a ton of allegiance toward him. I'm sure the freshman class that he recruited is frowns upon what happened, but other than that, this Navarro kid at quarterback, I think he could be a difference maker in this game, and I think too much is being made of Ohio losing their head coach and the publicity in which that received. And you make some good points along those lines, Brian. But go ahead, Steve. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, I was going to chime in on the total on this, so it's good. I was thinking about using this as the free play for the show, guys, but I know people will be watching it later into the week, so I'm going to use the Saturday game here at the end instead. But I do like the over in this game tonight. It's one of the biggest, if not the biggest, bowl total this season. And as you guys know, the highest totals go over more times than not. It opened 62.5. It's up to 65.5. And the thing for me is UNLV is a great offense, terrible defense, right? So I think even if Ohio is a little shorthanded or distracted, they're going to still score in this game, and UNLV will get theirs as well. I believe they average like 35 points a game this season. And I like the up and over 65.5 tonight. Should be a shootout at 9 Eastern.
Yeah, highest total of the bowl season as of right now, Steve, as a matter of fact. I watched the UNLV game against Air Force a couple months. It was on one of my TVs that Saturday afternoon. I don't think there was a single defensive stop in that game. It was absolutely absurd. So yeah, I would co-sign that that number is high for a reason. Don't think there will be a lot of. We've talked about some unders so far in this show, but that game, I think defense is optional in the Frisco Bowl. Thank you very much.
Yeah, not to beat a dead horse, but again, we've talked about this, Brian. All you need to do is go back and look at UNLV's opener. They allowed over 500 yards to Idaho State, who plays at the FCS level. I don't even think Idaho State made the FCS playoffs. I might be wrong.
They were not a powerhouse FCS team, so yeah, I don't even know if they made the playoffs either. Yeah.
All right, so that's all right. Let's take a brief pause here. We still have our best bets coming. I think we're gonna between the rundown and our best bets. I think we're basically got you covered on everything for Saturday here. So. Congrats for tuning in here to the Blitz. We're trying to cover as many of these games as we can. Again, the three of us combined will have a ton of standalone content too. So anything that you may not have heard on this show may have slipped through the cracks, if you will. I'm sure at least one of us will be getting to those games here. Guys, just remember to like and subscribe here on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. And if you're catching the show not live, you can still comment down below and ask us questions. We'll be checking as the week progresses. All right. I know Wednesdays before Saturday, Jay Buff. We'll get to the Hawaii Bowl, okay? Jay Buff's a good friend of mine, but very demanding in the comments section. What do we say here that we talk about what we've going on this week? Wednesday is before Saturday, and I'm sure we've got a lot going on, all of us, in between here. Steve, I'll throw it to you first. Why don't you talk about what's going on in your neck of the woods at WagerTalk.com?
Yeah, so right now, let's talk about those videos once again. I've got all three games for Tuesday. I've got the Hawaii Bowl that we're talking about. That Wednesday game is up here right now. And also 3 NFL games Thursday. All 3 underdogs might have third-string quarterbacks on Thursday. What could go wrong? Enjoy your lump of coal, Roger Goodell. You deserve it. Also, all 3 Friday bowl games I'll have up later this week. And there are 8 bowl games Saturday. I think maybe we missed a couple, Brian. Don't worry. I'm going to break them all down in an 8-for-1 special. Woo! We'll see if I have a voice left for Fade the Public this Sunday. But yeah, it's all free here on Wager Talk TV. Click subscribe, click that bell. And tonight on Tuesday, I do have 3 best bets. My first bowl total best bet tonight, and also 2 NBA best bets. And if you're joining us on Tuesday, it is $5 Tuesday. Don't miss out. Instant 80% discount. And then also some Christmas specials going up tomorrow on Wednesday, starting at midnight on Wednesday morning. So check that out, wagertalk.com, Steve Merril. And don't forget about the bonus free play. My last cut, just a bit outside, goes up as a free play every day on my page for free. Steve Merril, wagertalk.com. And get there quicker, wt.buzz/SM.
All right, Steve. Like 8 games in one video you're covering.
So I checked with the production team. I was like, do you want me to split this into daytime, nighttime, 4 and 4? Because 8 seemed insane. And then they reminded me that I did it for the NCAA tournament first round. I did. What, we have 16? I might have done all 16 in the video. And those are all about 20-minute videos. So it just shows, Brian, when you have one game, I go like 10 minutes. I have 8 games. It's still and you know that too, Ross. It's like we can make it efficient. And I will say thank you for having me on, because I got a lot of the advanced work done already, because we've done like half the games today. So I would think about spitting it out right now. But like you said, there's so many opt-outs and whatnot. I think I'm going to record it here in a couple days, maybe up on Friday or, Friday night.
Make sure you guys stay tuned for that, Ross, and make sure you guys want to stay tuned for everything Ross is doing here on the WagerTalk YouTube channel, and also what he's got going on at WagerTalk.com as well. Ross, tell us about it.
Yeah, I'm off to a great start with my college football postseason picks. 3-0 this past weekend with my college football playoff picks. 2-1 to start the bowl season. 5-1 overall this year with my college football postseason picks, folks, going back to the start of the 2022 college football postseason. 45-22, 67%, up over 74 units in net profit. My college football overall, 167-109 with my last 276 college football premium picks, up 138 units in net profit, 61% winners. NFL, coming off a nice winner last night with the Indy and San Francisco game, easily going over the total. Terrible Sunday in the NFL. Winner on Thursday in the NFL, or Saturday night, I should say. But 21-8 with my last 29 in the NFL, going good there. In all sports, although I'm having a terrible December, guys, I'm still up 151 units in net profit since May the 13th in all sports. So an NBA, by the way, 41-28, last 69. So a lot of good stuff going on. Don't forget, folks, today, two specials end for us. A four-day special for $69. I should say all access. Normally $69, but for 3 days, but we're giving you an additional day for free. So you're getting 4 days for $69. Also, 7-day all access pass, normally $99. You're going to get an additional 3 days absolutely free. 10 days, $99, less than $10 a day. Both of those specials end tonight at midnight, so you need to act quickly. And then a big week coming up. And also Weekend Warrior special, $49, guys. Been a very popular thing for our customers, clients, and viewers. And not only will you get college football and the NFL this weekend, you also get every other sport that we put out on the premium side for just $49 on Saturday and Sunday, including all 5% best bets.
Oh, all right. Those were pressures on me right now to speak. I heard you say 21-8, Ross. Well, it just so happens I'm 21-8, my last 29 college football selections, including a perfect 6-0 start to the Bowls and college football playoff. We have turned it on at the most opportune time in the season, guys. Over the weekend, we had both Miami of Florida. That was an outright winner. And Miami of Florida against Texas A&M, first half under. Sure, if you guys watched that game, it did not get much. It does not get much easier. A bet does than that one. It was 0-0 going into the break. So that was a great play. 6-0 start to the Bowls continues. Go over to my page, WT.Buzz. I'm going to have a lot of big plays this weekend as well. We've also been seeing it well in the NFL, 67% since November 13th, including the big 5% winner on Saturday with the Commanders-Eagles over. That was, to be quite blunt with you, that was a fortunate game that we got over. We got a nice pass interference. It's nice. You guys can attest to that. A lot of those times it goes against you. To get a pass interference call like that late in the game to set us up for the garbage time touchdown was, I'm not complaining, quite frankly, about that. I don't think anyone would complain about a trip to Hawaii on Christmas Eve. Now, it's not a trip for Hawaii because, of course, it's just a home game. The Hawaii Bowl on Christmas Eve, but the Warriors will be playing Cal. This was the Hawaii Bowl. I don't know if you guys remember this last year. That went into 3, 4, 5. It went into a lot of overtimes. I remember I was trying very hard not to wake my wife and daughter while I was sweating that game out, of course. But that is the life we have all chosen here in this industry as we are convulsing in bed watching the Hawaii Bowl on Christmas Eve. But did you guys have any takes on that? Because I know Jay Buff did ask, and let's just get to that.
Yeah, I mean, if I can, just a small take. Okay, you're looking at Hawaii. Hawaii will be the more motivated team in this matchup, in my estimation. California playing with a lame duck coaching staff right now. Several opt-outs in transfer portal victims there. And Hawaii really enjoying a tremendous season this year. And I think they'll be the more motivated team. Is this a game I'm going to use on my card? No, because on paper, California should be the superior team, but it's not always about who's the better team, Steve. You know, in these bowl games, sometimes it's a matter of just motivation, especially in what's deemed to be a pretty even matchup.
I agree, Ross. I mean, I think motivation is the number one thing when you're handicapping the NFL preseason and the college postseason, right? It's come opposite ends of the spectrum here have come full circle. And they have been a good home team as well. And look, if there's ever a time you're going to take a vacation at a bowl game, you're going to Hawaii. That's definitely distracting. Maybe Las Vegas and Hawaii would be the two bowl games you'd worry about teams being focused on as visitors. I'll look at the total in this one. And I gave out a free play video yesterday on this, and it was 52. It opened 55 down to 52, and now it's like 50, 50 and a half. So we have lost that key number of 51. You might want to hold off at this point and see if you get it back tomorrow night, if the public maybe pushes it a little higher, if we get some buyback. Probably about a 3 to 4% chance a game can land on 51, 31-20, 41-10. Lots of margins, 27-24. A lot of key margins get you there to 51. And both teams cannot run the ball. Two terrible rushing attacks. And you'd say, hey, normally both teams throwing the ball that you think they're going to be a lot of points. But both teams' pass defenses are decent. They both have been off for a month. So there again, you worry about the consistency. And you also could get a little bit of wind in Hawaii. We'll see. And I think the weather will be nice, but you could get some breezes. So I think the under makes sense. We've definitely seen the sharp money come in on the under. some guys out for Cal as well. But at 51 or more, there's some value. Now at 50.5, it's starting to get a little pricey.
Yeah, the biggest, the most key opt-out of that game is Hawaii's leading receiver, if you have yet to dig in.
Almost 1,000 yards, 12 touchdowns, I believe. So, we'll see if they can just dial in place, and Time, if he can plug somebody else back in there. But, yeah, that's a big loss.
Absolutely. So, all right. We've covered a lot of games. We've still got more to go. What do you say we go through our best bets here, guys? We've got more games to even cover. I'm going to get us started in the Fenway Bowl. 2:15 Eastern on Saturday, ESPN, of course, from Boston, Massachusetts. Where else would the Fenway Bowl be? UConn versus Army. Guys, I am not a military man. I have many friends who are, but unless they've changed the rules on us, you can't opt out of bowls if you're in the Army. That's the one edge they've got, these service academies. You can't opt out. So it should be the normal Army squad on the field Saturday as they look to bounce back from that heartbreaking loss to Navy at the end of the regular season. Ralph Michaels, a few weeks ago on the program, let us know about this. Service academies in bowl games have been printing money, an insane run. I believe 18-2 against the number, the last 20 appearances between Army, Navy, and Air Force. As for UConn, well, oh boy. 3 starting offensive linemen have hit the portal. Yikes. They could be down to a 4th-string quarterback. Double yikes. Their defense, horrible against the run. Triple yikes, facing the triple option. If you guys saw this defense against Rice, who runs the triple option, and against Air Force, they were not good. They were very lucky against Air Force. They could not stop. They had no early down success rate in that game to UConn. And also, we've harped on this in other games, you're dealing with an interim coaching staff with UConn. Jim Mora Jr. leaves for Colorado State. Jason Candle, as we've already mentioned, he's coming in from Toledo. So it's an interim staff here. Guys, at some point, maybe we do get to a number where I wouldn't feel comfortable laying it with Army, but we're not there yet. Chances are this game gets very ugly in a hurry. Army minus 9.5 in the Fenway Bowl is my show best bet. Ross, you want to go next?
I'm sorry?
You want to go next, Ross, with your best bet? Sorry.
Yeah,
I realized I punctuated that with such a, it was just like, okay, and now what do we do? So, yeah.
I was
waiting for one of us to react there,
The beauty of the analysis had me frozen.
Yeah. Yes. I will say on your game, Army also, you look at that Army team, they started the year slow, but, that's a team that lost by 7 to Tulane, by 7 to North Texas, and a 1-point loss against Navy. Those were all 3 very good teams, and 2 of them played for the title in the American Athletic Conference. So that's a better than advertised Army team.
Yeah, and it is the Wasabi Fenway Bowl. That is some sort of technology thing. It's not for sushi. So just in case if we needed it, these bowl sponsors have gotten real dire, guys. I don't know. People talk about motivation in the bowls. These bowl sponsors aren't what they used to be, man. I don't know where they pull some of these companies from. But Ross, what are you pulling for your best bet?
Well, I'm looking at the Miami of Ohio and Fresno State game. I don't know what its name, what bowl it is, but I'm looking at the matchup. Maybe you could help me out, Brian, in terms of the name of the bowl game. But
in Snoop Dogg Bowl? I think it is the Snoop Dogg Bowl.
Yeah, Snoop Dogg. There you go. So in any event, look, again, it's a matter of motivation for me. I'm not crazy about Miami of Ohio. Look, in their non-conference portion of the schedule, they went 0-3. They did face 2 Big Ten teams, but look at the Big Ten teams they faced. Wisconsin and Rutgers, bottom of the barrel, Big Ten teams this year. They were outscored in those 2 games, 62-17. They also lost to UNLV in a non-conference game, 41-38, giving up over 500 yards of total offense. They lost 3 of their last 5 against the MAC, including the MAC championship game against Western Michigan, where they were only able to muster up 272 yards of total offense. We talk about their starting quarterback, DeQuan Finn, who left several weeks back, quit the team because he wanted to get ready for the NFL draft. I think maybe he should have opted for the transfer portal first, guys, because he would have got a strong dose of reality. Not a lot of power conference teams or mid-conference teams would be opting for his services. Anyway, having said all that, Fresno State, new coaching staff this year. They opened with a 31-7 loss at Kansas, a game they were pretty competitive until the second half. And they end up going 8-4 this year, and including a win at Boise State, 30-7. So Boise State, the Mountain West Conference champion. And I just think that this team with a new coaching staff and the success they had, they're going to ride that momentum against a team that struggled down the stretch in Miami of Ohio, didn't fare well in the non-conference portion of the schedule. I'm going to have a lean here toward Fresno State as my pick here, laying the points, 5.5, I believe it is, over Miami of Ohio.
Yes, and that is the Arizona Bowl presented by Snoop Dogg. That smoke at halftime will not be from the fireworks, needless to say. Fun times there.
What's the world coming to when you name a bowl after Snoop Dogg?
Hey, they need money. Hey, you could buy. I guess he just gave it. He's all over the place. He's on the
Next is going to be the M&M Bowl.
Yeah, well, hey, they got one in Detroit, so there he could. Who knows?
And then with the money that Steve makes at WagerTalk, he might sponsor the bowl in the near future as well.
By the way, that wasn't me this month. I don't know who it was. It was not me.
Here we go. We're
a little
peeling back the curtain here a little bit. All right,
it was not me. I wish it had been. I didn't know I had a shirt on.
That's a hell of a month, man.
It really is. All right.
It's a hell of a year.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of sponsors, Brian, every time we've talked about this today, I get hungry. So we're going to talk about, again, the Pop-Tarts Bowl. That's got to be the best one. And like you said,
I agree.
You could take I love mascots. In fact, back when I played high school football, I always wanted to be Robbie Ram. Our mascot was the Ram. My dad always found that comical that I wanted to be the Ram. I thought at halftime I could run out there and do it. But I've always had a respect for mascots. I think they're cool. Okay. And the Pop-Tart would be like as cool as it gets. It's Camping World Stadium, Georgia Tech, BYU. Camping World Bowl. I think they had that at one time. I don't know why it's not the Camping World Bowl once again. By the way, Snoop Dogg probably doing the Olympic coverage here in a couple of months like he did a couple of years ago. So maybe they're going to promote that. My guess is maybe that's connected to NBC or the Olympics somehow, but we shall find out. We talked about this game earlier. I mentioned that BYU in the under. I like BYU minus the 4.5, though, as the side in this game. It opened 2.5, 3. It's up to 4.5, 5. I agree with that move. Georgia Tech's offensive staff, not many opt-outs from the players, but the offensive staff, the coaching staff for Georgia Tech is a concern. Chris Winkie likely calling the plays as the assistant offensive coordinator this season. So I think BYU has a little bit of an edge there. And we talk about the military academies traveling well. Do the Mormon schools travel well? I don't know. I mean, BYU always seems to show up for bowl games. Both teams run the ball well, but BYU throws a little bit better. And the huge edge in this game, as I said earlier, is a substantially better defense for BYU. And they're taking on an offensive coaching staff that might be a little shaken up. I like BYU minus the 4.5, and we'll see if it continues to climb. It's hitting 5 in a lot of spots. That's at 3:30 Eastern Saturday afternoon in sunny Orlando, Florida.
All right, that is 3 best bets for you. Let's get that fancy graphic on the screen, Dan Alexander. If you could, the Blitz squad ride. Ross likes Fresno State minus 5.5. Steve likes BYU minus 4.5. And I like Army minus 3 favorites here. You don't see that all that often. Wow, there we go.
Do a money line parlay.
Yes, you could do that.
All seriousness,
and these lines could go. And hey, in all seriousness, we're recording this Tuesday again, guys. These lines obviously could go up between now and Saturday.
I will say this real quick, though, Brian. I probably wouldn't recommend. I mean, I very rarely ever recommend money line parlays. You're not changing the math, Eddie. I've had that whole discussion, but we talk about the preseason and how we've come full circle. These lines are soft, and once again, a 2.5 to 4.5 5-point move in that BYU game is not like a regular season game. It's information based, just like in the preseason where we see a line. And talk about the Army game's a perfect example. You know, we see lines move because one team is motivated and players are sitting. And so don't think like you've lost value. That other line was never correct based on the new known information. Mm-hmm. With that said, though, these lines aren't nearly as sharp as week 15 or 16 NFL lines have been the last couple of weeks. And, you know, if you like an underdog, especially in a bowl game, you probably should be putting some of it on the money line. I say that in all sports every week, but especially in the bowl season, right? Because a lot of these dogs can win outright, and you don't always need the points.
Yeah, not only the motivation, Steve, but, you know, when you factor in, like you said, the transfer portal and players opting out, I've always been a proponent when people say, do you know so-and-so's out? You know, you're not making a new discovery. Okay. Right. If we know it, the odds makers know it. And I always say that's all factored into the line. So some of that is factored into the line, right? From where it was in the opener, and then finding out players available for each team. So you have to dive into it a little deeper at this. It's not like it used to be, Steve, and Brian. We used to be able to put out college football bowl picks early and get them up in volume, but you're pretty foolish if you do that these days, in my estimation, anyway.
Yeah, and I will say the one thing that hasn't changed, just like the preseason in the NFL, it's all about motivation still. But you used to not get the opt-outs. You'd have to dig a little bit deeper and like which team's going to show up. Everybody was still playing, but the guys were just going through the motions on the defensive line, not tackling, not hitting. So it's different, but it's the same in that regard. It still comes down to motivation. And a lot of times, too, I'll point this out real quick. We talk about these minor bowl teams like the MACs and stuff. The SEC, the Big Ten, these conferences, the backups a lot of times are just as good as the guys opted out. Even the quarterbacks are just as good. Remember Moss, who's going to play in his bowl game now with another school. Remember when he stood in for USC a couple years ago?
I had them,
that was Caleb Williams probably, right? Caleb Williams was sitting out. And, he was still a monster. So I always feel like the smaller conference teams get hurt more by any opt-outs, when a starter is out that's played 700 snaps or whatnot, than one of these power 5. I don't know what the terminology is. The SEC, the Big Ten. You know what I'm talking about.
Yes, absolutely.
They reload instead of having to rebuild. That's the term.
Yeah, and I talked about one of those games. It's a game that doesn't have a lot of opt-out. You guys can check this out. I think it's going to be available tomorrow or maybe tonight. If you're an insider here on the WagerTalk YouTube channel, you can get it, I believe, right now, actually. I previewed the Go Above Sports Bowl between Northwestern and Central Michigan. That's a game you guys can check out. I lean towards the under. That's another game where I've got to lean towards the under. It seems like we've been saying that word under quite a bit here on the show. Adabaham Lincoln, did I get that name right? Don't be so hard on yourself. I saw you he's being quite hard on himself for missing much of the show. He noted he wanted to know about the Louisville game, guys. Let's just hit this real quick because it kicks off actually in just a matter of minutes. Louisville just keeps taking money. That's up to 12.5. I don't know if anyone. So
he's got Rari Moss too, at quarterback. So
we talked about
a situation now, guys, where maybe try to get an in-game line below 10. I mean, 10 and 11 are semi-key numbers.
Yes.
And I just said how the line moves. Don't let the line move scare you. Well. This one's pretty substantial. And once again, you do want to have a starting point on what the line should be, all things equal. And as I said, my 10,000 game simulation would have had Louisville by 5 in the regular season. So you got to decide now, are all these opt-outs and whatnot, these changes, Toledo guys missing, worth 7 points? Probably where it should be now at this point.
All right. Guess what? That does it. I thought this was a fantastic program. I'm going to hit the like button, to be honest with you, when we're done. Next week, we will have the college football playoff preview. We will be talking about the 4 quarterfinal matchups, probably mix in some of the other we'll call them New Year's Day-ish bowl games as well, as information continues to trickle in. Big thanks to Steve. Big thanks to Ross for helping me out here on the Blitz. We will be live on Tuesday again next week. They're not going to make us work New Year's Day or New Year's Eve. Sorry about that. And I know Dan doesn't want to either. So we're all happy. We'll get you that information out a little bit easier. Check these guys out. What's going on at WagerTalk.com. Check me out as well. Until next time, let's cash some tickets.